Today, I want to share a story about a really good friend. And in fact, you might consider her one of the original young warriors. But before we do, I don't want you to see this as a feel-good story, but rather to recognize that there are powerful principles being displayed that we need to harness for ourselves. My friend Jane recently decided to go to a ladies' conference. So you know the process. You go online, you sign up, you pay your registration, and in the process she booked a hotel and she decided to drive her own car. Now in the process she learned of two women who wanted to go but had limited resources. Long story short, they could pull together the registration, but they really didn't have the funds for accommodations, transportation, etc. So Jane graciously offered to share her hotel room with these two ladies. And because she'd driven her own car, graciously offered to, as she put it, chauffeur them back and forth to the conference. Now, what makes this especially valuable was these were not friends or acquaintances of Jane's. She had never met them before. But in the process, the need arose and Jane rose to the occasion. So because of her generosity, they were able to attend this ladies' conference. But Jane's generous sacrifice went even further. See, they offered to try to share in the expense of the hotel and gas and everything else. They offered to contribute. Now, this is where common sense, where the world would train us, well, sure, accept that, help pay your expenses. But Jane demonstrated this amazing, pure, sacrificial generosity in refusing to accept any. She simply said, hey, I've already paid for it, it's fine. It's already done, just enjoy. And she was more of a blessing than that. So she not only, again, shared her accommodations with these two complete strangers, but she chauffeured them back and forth to the conference, which was more important than we first get. See, one of the ladies was older with limited mobility. So Jane paid extra to park close so that she could leave quickly, go get the car, bring it to the front to pick them up, and again, bring it to the front to drop them off and take the car back. And that meant even greater sacrifice. See, what it meant was setting aside her desires from time to time. That there were occasions at the conference that she might have wanted to linger and chat and to try to glean a bit more. But she had a responsibility now because of her commitment to go quickly, grab the car, and be ready for them when they walked out the front. Now, Jane obviously, clearly gleaned these great gold nuggets throughout the conference. And as we all should approach anything is looking for those gold nuggets that we can then incorporate into our life to empower us further in God. But as I said at the beginning, there were powerful principles that she displayed that we have to grab hold of. Now, many of you have heard me say this before, but I've always said, go have fun and take someone with you. God's blessings are expected to overflow from us and positively impact those around us. But this case was so much better. So we have to understand that generosity, sacrificial generosity, is a powerful principle. And it runs counter to our common sense, to what we think it should be. And it requires us to make the decision, make a commitment, and find ways to demonstrate it. And some of the benefits to power our life through that sacrificial generosity is, number one, generosity, pure generosity. Not generosity where we're manipulating, we're giving to get, but real, true, pure generosity purifies our motives. It eradicates, it shines a light in those corners of our heart that just aren't perfect. And it purifies our motives, giving us the ability to come boldly before Christ with big requests because we know now our heart is right. And generosity invokes God's blessings. That when we are, as I said, have a pure generosity. See, God says when you give, when you lend, say lend to the poor, when you lend to those who need, lend by your generosity, You're lending to the Lord and He will repay. Our generosity invokes God's blessings and will propel us further than we ever went before. Simply put, the point of sharing this story is to recognize that we're called to bring the kingdom of God into situations. That it's that moment when we're reflecting Christ and He can work through it and for a moment establish His kingdom in that situation and bring power and transformation. But also recognizing generosity runs counter to our natural instincts. But it's a powerful principle that will transform the world around you and transform you and I. But it requires us to not just decide we want to be generous, but to diligently search for the opportunities to be generous and then watch God work.